Hey guys, Courtney here from rulebreakersclub.com. In this video, I want to talk to you about something that has been blowing my mind lately. I want to tell you why I think it's so important for you to start networking and getting clients offline, because I know a lot of us, especially you introverts out there, are going to feel resistant to that. I've always told people that it can be really powerful to network one-on-one, offline, in person, in the flesh. People are just much more willing to hire someone who they've met in person versus someone who they found online. Now, I think there's a few reasons for this. Number one being the mere exposure effect, which basically just means that people develop a preference for things that they are more familiar with. No one's ever more familiar with you than if they meet you one-on-one. In my own business, this has been happening a lot lately, where I have a relationship with someone online or not at all, and then I meet the person offline, and the person buys one of my products, services, whatever, within a month of me meeting them. And today I've got 9 ways that you can start getting clients offline. Strategy number 1 is to attend meetup groups. This is my go-to strategy for making new friends. Anyway, I've lived in a lot of different cities and in a few different countries, and every time I move, I go on meetup.com and I look for groups of people who I can hang out with. If you're specifically looking for clients, obviously you probably want to attend meetup groups where you believe your potential clients would be hanging out. Strategy number 2 is to ask for connections. This is something that I've been so shy about doing, but when I do it, I realize that I can start to meet a more curated group of people because they're people that have already been filtered by the people who I've met. Strategy number 3 is to saturate a market. Now, here's what I mean by this. Instead of going to a whole bunch of random groups and events, try to find groups and events where similar people go. What you want to do is have multiple touch points with multiple different people, because the way that human networks work, if you and I have 2 or 3 or more mutual friends, you and I are more likely to like each other and to form a relationship. So instead of knowing a bunch of random people who don't know each other, try to meet other people's contacts so that you can then saturate that network and have more friends in common. That brings me to a very similar strategy, number 4, which is to be everywhere. While you're in the process of saturating a market, you're gonna have to go out more than you probably would normally, especially when you're just getting started. I knew when I moved to a new city that I was gonna have to go to more events in the beginning than I would end up going to later, because once you find contacts, it starts to gain momentum and happen more naturally. But in the beginning, you really should make an effort to be everywhere and go out as much as you can. That brings me to strategy number 5, which is to get your intro together. People at events, they're gonna ask you who you are and what you do. And if you show up not having an answer to that question, well, that's just silly, because you know people are gonna ask you that question. When you're giving an intro, you really just need to know what are the main details that you want to give someone. Essentially, who you are, what you do, who you serve. You don't want to memorize word by word some very specific elevator pitch, but you do want to know the general idea of what you want to say so that when you say it, it feels really natural. It's time to go to strategy number 6, which is to organize your contacts. I created for myself a spreadsheet that I call my little black book, where I've been keeping track of all the new contacts that I've been making recently, because I've been meeting a lot of people and I don't want to forget to keep in touch with those people. My basic system is just a list of the people I've been meeting, and then just in another column, how often I would like to get in touch with that person depending on our level of relationship and what I think is appropriate. Strategy number 7 is another tricky one, which is to meet up with people in different contexts. So if you always meet somebody at the same type of event, like it's always at a networking group, the relationship you build with that person is going to stay in a very specific type of one-dimensional way. If you invite that person out to grab coffee or a drink even, it's going to totally change the dynamic of your relationship. And the more different contexts you meet someone in, the more depth there is to the relationship you have with that person. Strategy number 8 is to volunteer to help. Now, I've realized, especially in my local community, there's a lot of people already running events and they're doing a really good job. But what I know for sure is that it's a lot of work to put on these events, and not everybody is super grateful about it either. So if you want to pitch yourself to volunteer and help them out, how do you think that's going to help your relationship with the organizer of the event? Probably a lot, right? If your desire is to establish a genuine connection, then volunteering to help somebody out is a great way of going about that. Now, finally, one of my favorite strategies strategies, strategy number 9 is to pitch yourself to speak at these events. This is precisely how I got my first speaking gigs. I started attending local networking events, and I actually was asked to speak at a couple of them. And then there was one group that I went to that had a very organized event once a year, and they happened to be in the process of accepting speaker applications. I applied. I developed a relationship with the organizer and some other people who attended the events, and I was accepted to speak at the event. If you've ever heard the saying that it's all about who you know, well, this is how you get to know more people. People do work with other people who they know, like, and trust. And the fastest way to get someone to know, like, and trust you is to connect with them in person. I would love to know in a comment below. Make this a discussion, because I'm sure there's more ideas, and I'm sure you guys have some strategies that have already worked for you. What is your favorite way to meet people in person when you have an online business? Is there any specific strategy that's worked for you in the past, or just on accident even? I'd love to know in the comments. And then make sure, as always, to hit the subscribe button and like this video so that you will get notified when the next one comes out, because it's gonna be just as awesome as this one, of course. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.